We live in cultures where we simply disrespect sleep. We say things like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. We act like if we work hard all the time and we're sleep deprived, we can wear that as a badge of honor. So in spite of all of these things that I'm teaching you that we know as scientists, that the brain is highly active while you're sleeping, that you are processing information in ways you simply can't during wakefulness while you're sleeping. You know, that's so incredibly important for your ability to do everything from learn and remember to have creative insight to regulate your stress that we're all under. In spite of all of these active roles that sleep plays when it comes to our brain, we live in cultures where we simply disrespect sleep. But what I'm trying to give you is the scientific facts behind what sleep is and what it really does for you, rather than the cultural mythology, which is really built just to have you working constantly all the time, but not at your best. Now, when it comes to what is sleep even, it is a dramatically different collection of brain states or sleep stages that bear almost no resemblance to one another. So rapid eye movement sleep looks much more like wakefulness when you're looking at the EEG or the rhythms the brain produces than it looks like slow wave sleep. None of these are unconscious states. You're always conscious while you're sleeping. That's why you don't roll out of your bed. And it's how we know that you're not in a coma, because you are still producing these wake and sleep rhythms as long as you're not in a coma. So consciousness is something that you sustain throughout all the different types of sleep or stages of sleep, but you're differently conscious. And that will become important when you start understanding what each of these different stages is really doing for your brain, and again, all of the cognitions that the brain supports. So when you're sleeping well, the first thing to know is that you should fall asleep very quickly. And in fact, if you are routinely lying awake for 20 or 30 minutes a night, ruminating, struggling to get to sleep, switching back and forth, flipping around from side to side, and if that is associated with any daytime complaint, like I don't feel well or I don't feel at my best, that is all it takes to get a diagnosis of insomnia. There are actually two types of insomnia. So what I just described, when it's hard to fall asleep at the very beginning of the night, that's called sleep onset insomnia. But the other type of insomnia, which I sometimes call the 3 a.m. screamies, is when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep. But in both cases, you're trying to sleep, you're likely in bed, your mind's racing, whether you're aware of it or not. You're desperate to get to sleep in some cases, but you just cannot drift off. So we'll talk about insomnia more in the future, but for now, just know that those are the two major types, and they both have very, very similar causes. But if you're sleeping well, you should fall asleep fairly quickly. And once you do, your brain is going to very quickly dive down into what we call slow wave sleep or delta sleep. Physicians nowadays call it N3 just to make it extra confusing. But this deep slow wave sleep is incredibly important for you. And this is where the lion's share of your memory consolidation happens. So as you can see here, you get the vast majority of your slow wave sleep early in the night. So your brain is going to dive down into it fairly quickly. The brain rhythms associated with it they're really tall and slow delta waves, and they're synchronized. And that's because all the neurons in your brain are firing and then going quiet, and then firing and then going quiet. It's a very synchronized type of brain activity that allows us to detect, oh, you're in slow wave sleep. And you're going to get the majority of that first thing when you go to sleep. It is also true that if we intentionally sleep deprive you in the laboratory and keep you up for 24 hours or more, your brain will dive into this deep slow wave sleep even faster, and those delta waves will be even taller. So in some ways, slow wave sleep probably is, if I had to pick, the most important type of sleep you get, because the brain recovers it first. It is how you get rid of the sleep debt. We can almost tell how strong the sleep debt is by how big these delta waves are and how fast you race into slow wave sleep. We even call that dumping delta waves, because the brain, it has this debt and it needs to just dump it. It needs to just get rid of it. So that comes first, and it doesn't matter. When you wake up, you're always going to go back down into slow wave sleep and start again. Although there's a circadian aspect to that is a little bit beyond the topic today. But just know that slow wave sleep comes first in sleep architecture. And now I want you to compare that with rapid eye movement sleep, which you get the vast majority of late in the night. So sleep architecture has this kind of lopsided distribution where the first part is dominated by slow waves and the last part is dominated by rapid eye movement sleep, which looks like wakefulness. It's desynchronized, that their brainwaves all over the place. They're super fast. They're jagged. It's like everybody's talking all at once in a really crowded room. It's the furthest thing from synchronized activity. And that's because the brain is doing very different things, as we'll talk about in a second, in these two different sleep stages or brain states. So there's slow wave sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and then evenly distributed throughout the night is non-REM stage 2 sleep, which is actually a very important and yet light stage of sleep. And I want you to make note of that because it will become important when we talk about strategic napping later. So those are the three main types of sleep you get. There is a stage 1, but it's not technically sleep. It's sort of a transitional state. We know for sure you're asleep when you spend a little bit of time in stage 2, and then you're going to dive down into slow wave sleep and then come back up into rapid eye movement sleep or stage 2, and then down and then up. And each one of these REM sleep cycles or ultradian cycles takes about 90 minutes. That too will become important when we talk about strategic napping on weekends or when you have a little bit more time. But for now, just know that this is what really healthy sleep architecture looks like. So the truth is that if you protect your sleep and if you address sleep problems as they arise, you will be much better off. You'll be much smarter, much more creative, a better decision maker if you protect sleep, not if you work 24/7 or stay at work really late to signal that you care. So my passion here is to really flip that narrative from work, work, work all the time to work efficiently with the brain instead of against it. And the first way to do that is to protect your sleep.